Took a full minute to get Facebook to start this. I'm not sure why. So it's 9:32. I'm 2 minutes late, but we'll wait for people to join a little bit. I'll give you a kind of heads up on what we're talking about today. I've got my crossword puzzle coffee cup. It's raining and cold in Boonville. However, we're set to go. I think we're going. Okay, so last week we talked about sleep, okay, and things that you can do to help you sleep if you're having trouble with insomnia or sleep disturbance during this social isolation thing, morning island. And then as we keep going forward, I'm going to teach you some things about longevity and age management, and then try to kind of incorporate that into what you're doing for during your social isolation time. So overall, I hope I'm teaching you some things, and I've still got videos up. So we went through, hey Em, all the way from England, yay! So what we've accomplished is try to tell you some of the things that are happening and people thinking outside the box on this COVID-19 thing, as well as the fact that the social isolation potential health detracting, not benefits, the health detracting parts of social isolation. One of those is immunity. So my play on words is the impunity of immunity. The impunity trying to keep you from having bad effects of the reduction in immunity that comes with social isolation. I'm going to talk about some things, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due, and I'll show you where I got it from. But once again, I am a doctor, I don't practice, but pretty much we're going to talk about over-the-counter natural ways you can boost your immunity during this time, and then going forward even. But remember that FDA disclaimer. These statements have not been reviewed and authenticated, or however they say it on the FDA. So I'm not saying that you should do this or you shouldn't do this, and you should probably check with your doctor if you're thinking about it. But these are scientifically based supplements that will boost your immunity and protect your immunity while you go through this. And then again, if you're over 45, 50 years of age, your immunity starts going down anyway. So there are ways to protect that. And then going forward, we're going to talk about, I think Wednesday or Friday, we're going to talk about things that actually can reverse the signs of aging that are simple to do, simple to take, and simple to find. So social isolation, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, the health effects of social isolation. Okay, so you're increasing your stress, and you're also increasing your potential cardiovascular disease risk because we're not as active. I told you about my steps being down about 4,000 to 5,000 a day while we're in this isolation part. And then the effect of inflammation from social isolation. So I reviewed 14 studies that show there's an increase in inflammation just from social isolation. Okay, remember, social isolation does not equal loneliness, so loneliness actually makes that worse. However, what they found is it's your perception about your isolation that creates the stress, that creates the adrenocortical hormone release of cortisol and the adrenal hormones. So it's really mind over matter. So I'm kind of used to doing this. I work from home. The only time I go out, for the most part, is socially, of course. And then I go teach at the high school, or I teach at State Fair Community College. The rest of the time I'm sitting right here where I'm talking to you from, doing health coaching consults with people, and then collaborating with their physician to try to keep them healthy. Right now, there's about 85% of the population of the U.S. that's been told to socially isolate. Well, aging just by itself declines your immune function. And so if you increase your inflammation, you're going to decline your immune function. So This is a stacking effect of social isolation on your immune function. So we talk about certain antioxidants and immune boosting vitamins that you can take during this time, and we're just going to delve in a little bit farther today. So hopefully, if you believe me or if you've researched it yourself, you're taking 5,000 units of vitamin D a day, you're taking higher doses of vitamin C, you're taking your zinc, you're taking some melatonin and some DHEA, and we're going to we're going to expand on DHEA and melatonin today as well. Okay, so here's where this information's from. I'm going to show you. I don't know if, it comes out exactly like you should. So if you get your supplements from Life Extension, you get a subscription to this magazine every month. Morning, Stacy and Penny. Sharon, how are you? Valerie, hey. And Jim. So I know Jim probably gets this. So this is the latest issue, and notice what they're talking about. Natural methods to enhance immune function. So pretty much what we're going to talk about is from this issue, because the whole issue is about boosting your immunity. Okay, and so the guy, the co-founder, My Approach to Healthy Immunity, he wrote it well enough, and he's got the science behind it, that I thought I would go over what he does to avoid getting viral infections. And here's his, so you know where he's coming from. Here's his references, and it goes on. There's 58 references. That should. Okay, so this is all science-based, and Life Extension, for the most part, is physician-led, scientifically related. So they always have references on anything they talk about. So this issue is about immunity. So we're going to delve into what this guy does. So he's the co-founder of Life Extension. They started in 1983, so they've been around a while. Okay, he does talk about an antiviral that's out that's not effective against this particular coronavirus. And Tamiflu has, there's viral resistance to Tamiflu. So these are ways to avoid having to take a prescription medicine potentially. So again, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you to research it and decide for yourself. Okay, so zinc we talked about 2 weeks ago. His opinion is that zinc lozenges are actually better than the zinc capsules. And when he starts, so the idea behind this guy's approach is to immediately attack any sign of viral infection. Hey, Linda. Ross, Margot, how's Nashville? Sounds like you're having a good time down there. So anyway, the first sign of symptomatology. So runny nose, stuffy nose, whatever kind of viral symptoms that you think, he attacks us immediately with pretty high doses of supplements. So the doses we're going to talk about for combating an early illness potentially can avoid a serious illness. So a lot of people wait until they're really symptomatic, and we found obviously that that can be lethal. And so most of the people that are having trouble or dying from this are over 60, right? And so your immune function starts to go down 45, 50 years of age. So that's a compounding thing. If you get a serious viral illness on top of a reduction in immunity at a more advanced age, I'm not going to say elderly because I'm there and I don't feel elderly. Okay, so zinc. For him, it's lozenges, and and I came up with a dose because he didn't really have it in there. It's 180 to 220 milligrams as a lozenge per day for 7 to 10 days. So you want to, if you're taking higher doses, you want to do this until your symptoms have resolved, and then go back to a normal dose, whatever you want to call that. So the lozenge has been shown, zinc lozenges, to be able to avoid the virus attaching to cells in your oropharynx. Okay, so that if they attach to the cells in your oropharynx, the back of your throat, then you can inhale them. Okay, and we talked about the respiratory component of this, and the fact that it may be actually stripping iron off of hemoglobin to cause the significant end organ failure that's body-wide. So, so zinc lozenges, they've been on back order. They're now available again. I just got an email from Life Extension that they've restocked, so you can actually get those lozenges. And then he talks about high allicin garlic. And garlic, and this is the odor, not the odorless kind. This one has the odor of garlic. So high doses of that, 6,000 to 9,000 milligrams is an extract, 1 to 2 times a day. And if you don't eat right after you take it, it's going to burn. So you have to, if you take that one, you have to eat, or you're going to feel it all the way down your esophagus. Okay, that has been shown to have viral killing effects in a placebo-controlled study. So this one, they always talk about placebo and double-blinded and all that. So this was a placebo-controlled study using that particular type of garlic. Okay, like I said, if you get it, eat, because it will burn. Okay, the other garlic I'm going to talk about, and he actually doubles up as garlic, is an odorless one and does not burn. Okay, the next one that he talks about is higher doses of DHEA, or dehydroepiandrosterone, which is, I've always considered, I call it the mother of all hormones. Most people call it the grandmother of all hormones. And to me, the grandmother is pregnenolone, so that would be another way to boost your DHEA, since pregnenolone is converted to DHEA in your body. Typically, a DHEA dose is anywhere from 25 to 50 milligrams for women, sometimes lower. It is an androgen. In men, I usually have them take 100 milligrams. He's proposing 200 milligrams a day for that 7 to 10 day period to get rid of symptoms. Okay, so DHEA is more than just a hormone. It mounts a strong immune response, and it protects against cytokine and inflammatory activity. And we talked about, hey Stacy, we talked about, there's 2 Stacys on here, yay, 2 different states. So we talked about cytokine activity in relation to macrophage engulfment, or mounting an immune response against the respiratory component of this virus, which then brings in the cytokines and interleukin 1 and 6, as well as the natural killer cells of the immune system, and we're going to talk more about that as we go through this. Okay, so the DHEA has an inflammatory component, an immune system protective and generating a amount of a response at a higher dose. So 200 milligrams is what he's recommending based on his scientific literature search. Okay, the next one is lactoferrin. And lactoferrin has its own little article in this particular issue of Life Extension. Okay, and at the end, you guys want to send me a message, I'll send you a reprint of this article that I'm talking about for fighting off early symptoms of this virus. Okay, lactoferrin, the highest production or the highest concentration is in colostrum. Colostrum is the first part of breast milk before actually breast milk comes. So colostrum is what breastfeeding mothers are giving to their brand new newborn babies for immunity, and the immunity is from lactoferrin because their immune systems are not mature, and it takes a while for them to mature. Not a long time, but they do tend to get a lot of immunity from vaginal delivery, not so much from cesarean delivery, but breast milk. That colostrum is important in that initial immunity for a newborn. Okay, so what that does is shield babies from inflammation and infection until that maturity of the immune system occurs. So this is an interesting one, and again, this is all referenced. You can look it up. I did it. So lactoferrin inhibits viral cell binding in the following: common cold viruses, flu viruses, including the swine flu from 2009, viral gastroenteritis, SARS-type coronavirus, so it has activity against the coronavirus. Now, maybe not this one, because this is type 2, remember, SARS-CoV type 2, as opposed to type 1 from 2002. The herpes simplex virus, lactoferrin, again we're talking about, has antiviral effects on the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, the cytomegalovirus. That's a teacher thing. Every teacher I know has had cytomegalovirus, CMV. Poliovirus, the respiratory syncytial virus, also another teacher thing. The enterovirus, the echovirus, Coxsackie virus, and the Epstein-Barr virus. And then there's a few other weird ones like dengue fever that has activity against that I don't think that I've ever heard of anybody that I've known or doctors that treated a dengue fever in the U.S. I'm not sure why. Okay, so lactoferrin works in two ways. One, it binds to a receptor on the cell that the virus is attracted to, okay? And then it also binds to the virus itself to avoid that interaction between the virus and the cell. So that's a lot of antiviral activity from just one supplement, okay? Okay, it also has indirect viral effects. So it activates natural killer cells. So we talked about that in the lung with this virus. It stimulates interferon production, which is one of the initial responses of the immune system. And then that interferon signals surrounding cells that there's a virus present. And so they boost their immune response, and that is how that avoids growth and spread into neighboring cells. Okay, and then lactoferrin may actually inhibit viral reproduction. And remember, the virus has to get into the cytoplasm, the goo inside of a cell, so that it can use. This one uses reverse transcriptase to get into the nucleus for DNA replication, and then DNA replication of the viral proteins, which come back into the cytoplasm and then get outside the cell for further replication and invading more cells. So lactoferrin can actually stop that, even if it hasn't stopped the virus from getting into the cytoplasm itself. So pretty handy little supplement. Okay, so that's a pretty big dose. He's saying 300 to 1,200 milligrams a day if you develop early symptoms. Next one is melatonin. We talked about melatonin last week when we talked about sleep, and everybody thinks of it as a sleep hormone, which it is. It's released by the pineal gland, and remember, it has to do with your retinal receptors as far as light and dark. So darkness stimulates production of melatonin from the pineal gland. However, there's way more to the story with melatonin. Okay, so the influence of melatonin, and this was done in a study in cats, so I don't know that you can extrapolate that to the human, but in 1926 they found out that melatonin had a significant response, or a significant immune response in kitty cats. Okay, so melatonin's been studied that way for almost 100 years. Okay, so your immune gland, I guess, is your thymus gland. And so when you are a 12-year-old, you have a thymus gland that's as big as a walnut. It continues and it kind of stays that way until you're about 18. And then it starts shrinking. And by the time you're 40, your thymus gland is the size basically of a pea or a lima bean. So it's shrunk quite a bit. And so when we talk more later this week about how to rejuvenate your thymus gland, there are ways to do that, one of which is higher dose melatonin. Okay, so it's stimulating growth of the thymus, so the thymus will produce new T lymphocytes for your immune system. So that all slows down by the age of 40 and just continues to sort of wither away. And then once your immune system can't fight things off, that's when you get chronically ill and chronic disease. Okay. So melatonin really is an anti-aging hormone as well. And remember, we talked about melatonin being able to scavenge radicals of oxygen-reactive species, which causes inflammation, production of radicals that destroy cell walls. So melatonin is a way to scavenge those. Coenzyme Q10 as well, and we'll talk about that at some point. We'll probably delve into a lot of these supplements in a lot of more detail as I go forward. Okay, melatonin enhances the antibody response from your immune system, probably through new T lymphocyte formation. And then it enhances, so not only do you make new ones, it enhances the functions of your T cells and your antibodies. Okay, so melatonin also stimulates activity of natural killer cells. Okay, it regulates the immune system by regulating the signaling factors of a cell, telling the immune system there's a problem. So melatonin's involved in that. It's protective both against viral and bacterial infections through that immune response, okay? And it also has anti-cancer properties. And this has been studied in clinical situations. Even, for instance, I ran across a study where babies that had, so young children that have sepsis, doctors have used high doses of melatonin to help fight off sepsis and bacteria, but also an anti-cancer property. And again, this is in clinical data, so it prevents the initial formation and progression and spread of the following cancers. So breast, brain, ovarian, uterine, melanoma, skin cancer, prostate, and colon cancers. Handy little hormone. I take 10 milligrams every night. If I started getting symptomatic, he's saying 10 to 50 milligrams at bedtime. And of course, melatonin can make you sleepy, so you kind of want to be where you're going to go to lay down and go to bed. 20 milligrams is the sleep-inducing dose. We talked about that last week. 1, 2, 0.5, 3, 5 milligrams is not strong enough. 10 is kind of routine, and if you have trouble with sleep, it's 20, and if you're getting symptomatic, up to 50 milligrams, 30 minutes before bed, okay? And then I told you we'd talk about garlic again. So this co-founder of Life Extension doubles up as garlic. So the one that burns is the one we talked about earlier. This is aged garlic extract, and he is recommending 3,600 milligrams a day if you have symptoms. This one's odorless, the other one's not. You'll smell like garlic, and I eat a lot of garlic, so I probably smell like garlic, and I take garlic supplements, so who knows. It has an antiviral and immune system enhancing property. So garlic, we talked about that earlier. And then it proliferates natural killer and T cells of the immune system. So garlic's a pretty important one. I always think of it for cardiovascular protection, but it does have a significant response from the immune system. Okay, the next one's going to surprise you because I don't like proton pump inhibitors. However, and you remember the FDA just banned ranitidine, which is a trade name Zantac. So they banned it because of higher than normal containment of NDMA, which is carcinogenic. That stands for, I have to look, it's N-nitrosodimethylamine, NDMA. That is why Zantac has been banned by the FDA. The rest of them, the proton pump inhibitors, including cimetidine, do not appear to have that problem. So they're still over the counter, and they are available. So I don't think anybody's scarfing up all the proton pump inhibitors, but specifically, this is science-based and clinical medicine-based. Cimetidine has a side effect. Okay, it inhibits, so cimetidine inhibits the production of T suppressor cells. So T suppressor cells downregulate the immune system. So you don't want to have that going on, one, when you're getting older, and two, if you're in the middle of this pandemic and maybe have symptoms. So cimetidine at 800 to 1,200 milligrams a day will suppress the suppression of the immune system by the T suppressor cells. That's a lot of suppressor words. Okay, so that's a big fat dose of cimetidine while, so this guy's doing this while he has symptoms to avoid it. And he says in his article that, so 1983 was when he started life extension. And he says that he has, in all these years, 37, I've gone 37 years without suffering a serious cold flu viral infection. And I'm telling you his protocol for himself. Okay, so cimetidine increases natural killer cell activity by inhibiting T suppressor cells. It stimulates interleukin-2 production. Okay, and we talked about interleukin-1 and 6 with the COVID-19 thing, and it also stimulates gamma interferon production. Okay, part of the immune system as well. Probably safe to take at a small dose all the time, although there's better ways of taking care of gastritis and acid production. And if you get your acid production, your pH too high, then you got health effects from that. So you really need a pH of 2 in your stomach, and there's physiology behind that. Might be a subject of another one of these live things. So the antiviral dose, 800 to 1200 milligrams a day. It's sold over the counter at 200 milligram pills. So that's, or capsules or whatever it comes in. That is, so you're talking about 4 to, is that right? 2 or 4? Yeah, 4 to 6 a day while you're symptomatic. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is, if you want a reprint of this, I'm giving this guy credit. It's copyrighted. He wrote it. It's his deal. But it's interesting to see all the references on this. And I'm not sure I may be able to publish this or just post it. If not, I'll send you a link to the life extension article itself if you hit me up on Messenger or just comment or whatever. And then what I'm going to do later today is I will put this together with links. And of course, I'm a life extension fan. They've been around long enough. I like their supplements. I take them. So I'll put up a list with links directly to each one of these. Cimetidine, of course, is over the counter. You just go to the drugstore or whatever place. You can probably get it at Love's. Who knows? But cimetidine's easy to find. It's not cheap, but it's not horrifying either. So I'll put that list up with links directly to life extension. Pick and choose what you want. Think about it. Read this article. Do your own research and decide whether or not this is something that you would like to consider, especially if you start getting symptomatic. And then some of these are just anti-aging supplements that a lot of people take anyway. And then next, coming up, because this is also in this particular issue, although it's not new, there are 3 studies now showing age reversal with certain elements of hormone optimization and a couple other things that are kind of surprising. But they've got clinical research showing that you can reverse the signs of aging. And actually, some of that research is now 28 years old. It's not mainstream, but it is getting quite a bit of interest amongst age management physicians, of which I was one, and functional medicine physicians. So there are things that you can do now that actually reverse aging. For instance, I'm 89 years old, not really, but I'm turning 60 this summer, and I sort of kind of feel that. So I kind of need to delve into this a little bit more seriously on my own. Anyway, that's what I got for the morning. I did it in 30 minutes. I'll send you this, or I'll post this article. I'll post the list later. Wednesday, we'll talk about age reversal, and maybe I can wind the coronavirus into that as well. Good to see you all. I hope you have a great week. I had a great weekend, and I will talk to you Wednesday at 9:30. See ya. Thanks for joining. Bye.